Welcome to Geek Therapy Radio. You've got your mental curator, Johnny Hemberger. I had just been recording for the past 5 minutes I had been talking for the last 5 minutes and realized I was not recording. I am recording into the left speaker grill. That is the main microphone of this 13-inch MacBook Air, M1 MacBook Air from 2020, the OG MacBook Air. One reason I picked the MacBook Air, I told you in a previous podcast, this is not what this podcast is about, but the OG MacBook Air has top-firing speakers. M2, M3, M4 MacBook Airs, as great as they are, the speakers are now embedded underneath the keyboard. I don't know if that makes a huge difference. I have not personally tested M2 and on MacBook Airs to see if the sound quality is any less than or greater than the OG M1 MacBook Air, but I do like having top-firing speakers in my laptops, and the OG MacBook Air, the OG 2020 M1 MacBook Air is the last MacBook Air as of recording to have top-firing speakers. So anyways, that's what I'm using to record this with. I am so happy today. It is March 19th, and yesterday, a bit of news broke that honestly made it felt like I didn't actually cry. My eyes didn't actually well up, but I was so happy that I felt like I might cry. Tears of geek joy. If you follow me on Geek Therapy Radio, Facebook, or wherever, I think I mentioned this. So, if you've listened to Geek Therapy Radio over the past few years, you have heard me say ad nauseum plenty of times how much of a fan I was of the Pebble smartwatch and how sorry I was when Pebble sold to Fitbit and then utterly, just basically sealed their fate as Pebble Watch is dead. Fitbit's just going to buy the rights to the software and blah, 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 and they're going to kill the famous e-ink smartwatch. And it was a big bummer because, in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinion, the Pebble smartwatch was the perfect smartwatch. It was an e-ink display, so the battery life lasted for days, if not weeks. The screen was always on, but since it was e-ink, it didn't matter. It didn't suck up any juice just to have a static image on your watch. So it showed you everything that you needed to know. It showed you everything that a watch could reasonably show you, knowing that full well you're going to be interacting with your phone most of the time. So what is the place of a smartwatch? Like, what viable? You're not going to sit there using your watch all the time like Dick Tracy or whatever. That's really cool that you can do that, but smartwatches have been a really kind of interesting category because it's actually it's not a fun time to interact only with your watch. So the Pebble smartwatch kind of nailed it. It was anytime you want to see the time, you could just see the time. The screen was always on. You never had to wait for a refresh. You never had to wait for it to kind of like bog out of itself to show you the correct time. It would just always show you the right time. It showed you notifications as you needed to know them, just what you needed to know. And it was just done. And the battery life lasted for seemingly forever. So, Pebble sold to Fitbit in 2016, and that was just the nail in the coffin for Pebble. We knew that Fitbit wasn't going to continue the Pebble line of smartwatches. Eventually, Pebble OS made its way into Google's hands, where it sat for quite a long time. But the big news is that Google has since, graciously, honestly, Google has since allowed Pebble OS to become open source. So now anybody can develop for Pebble OS. And the really cool thing about this is that the original owner of Pebble smartwatches, the original creator of Pebble smartwatches, has announced that they're coming back from the dead, and they offered 2 new models of Pebble. As of this summer, they will start shipping their first model of Pebble. I think it's called the Core 2 Duo, which is funny that they're calling it the Core 2 Duo. That is the black and white version. And I'm trying to bring up on my phone here what the other one is called. So there's 2 models. The Core 2 Duo, forgive my voice if it sounds a little differently as I turn away from the microphone here. The Core 2 Duo is $150. It is a black and white display. Let me see here. Yeah, 1.2 inch black and white e-paper screen. If you're watching the podcast on YouTube, I'll have the images on the screen. Polycarbonate frame, which is awesome. Barometer compass, and it's like the Pebble 2, but better. It looks an awful lot, the Pebble 2. The Pebble 2 was the last official Pebble smartwatch before they sold to Fitbit. So that is $150. Says it's shipping July 2025. I ordered one and it says it's shipping in August. So we'll see when that happens. But the Core Time 2 is the more premier Pebble that has been announced, and you can order one right now. It ships in December 2025 as of recording right now. The Core Time 2 has a 1.5-inch 64 color e-paper screen. It also has a touch screen. And I forget where, I was reading somewhere, the CEO, what is his name? That's why I couldn't remember his name. It's because it's difficult to pronounce. Eric Migicovsky, 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 I think that's how you pronounce it. Please forgive me if I'm butchering it. Said that he's adding the touch screen interface to the color e-ink version of the Pebble, just because, basically. It's basically just to give developers more flexibility to play with. The original Pebble watches were never intended to be any sort of touch screen. You interacted with the Pebble watches by the buttons on the side. So these new Pebble watches have 3 buttons on the right, 1 button on the left, and the color version, which is $250, I believe. Let me go back to my other tab here. $250 is good. $225. I am so sorry. $225 for the Core Time 2. And it includes the touchscreen. Also includes a heart rate monitor on the upgraded model. But again, the touchscreen, Eric says that he just added that to give developers more options to play with. It wasn't anything originally intended to be part of the Pebble ecosystem, but he's basically, hey, why not? I like his tone. I like his tone when he's discussing the Pebble watch. And I love that Eric Migikovsky believed so much in his product that he's bringing it back from the dead. And it's not, here's the other huge thing about this. It's not crowdfunded. There's not a GoFundMe for this. There isn't any sort of investment required. He's using his own money. He used his own money to manufacture these new watches and launch these new watches. So if you pre-order the watch, you get your full money back at any time. I sound like I'm pitching it, but this is all according to Eric. There's no obligation, as you have heard in infomercials. There's no obligation. So if you buy it for $150, let's say you buy the lower tier model, which I have already pre-ordered, $150 at any time, you're like, I don't need this. You get your money back refunded. And the stock is there. They're not waiting to increase funding so that they can start manufacturing. Migikovsky has put his own money into this and has already made the product. So that is so cool. I love that. I love it when a CEO, in this case, the founder of a company, the owner of a company, believed so much in the product and didn't like the way, I don't know if he didn't like the way he sold the Fitbit or whatever, but basically he listened to his base for years saying, please bring back the Pebble, please bring back the Pebble. And people just telling him how much they love the Pebble smartwatch, and people like me who were so bummed that the Pebble smartwatch went away. So he dug into his own back pockets and brought them back. And it's super cool. I'm super cool for the open source aspect of Pebble OS. I think it's going to be awesome. I always say, not always just me, but I've heard many people say this, that limitation breeds creativity. You know, when I talk to singers and songwriters and musicians that are stuck, they have their computers with infinite amount of RAM and infinite amount of effects and things like that, and infinite amount of recordable tracks, all that good stuff. I say, just go back to a 4-track tape recorder or just pen and paper and a guitar. If you're stuck, just go back to the basics, because limitations breed creativity. So same thing. That's the same thing that I loved about the Pebble smartwatch ecosystem and the Pebble OS, is that limitation breeds creativity. Most of the Pebble smartwatches were just black and white and pixely, and you just lean into it. That's just what you had, and it showed you all the information you needed and nothing you didn't need. And it was wonderful, and it was really cool, the creative ways that people were developing apps for Pebble OS, even when it wasn't open source. Now that it is open source, and now that all the Pebbles have built-in microphones and speakers, and the upgraded version has a color screen and a touch screen and the heart rate monitor, it's going to be really cool. I love this open community aspect of Pebble smartwatches. I am absolutely stoked. So once again, I know we already went over it, but the base model, the Core 2 Duo, is $150, $149 technically, and the Core Time 2 is $225. The Core 2 Duo ships July 2025. The Core Time 2 ships December 2025. Those are all dates as of recording this podcast right now, way before launch in March. So we'll see how this all pans out. I was researching, and maybe somebody can find this. Maybe you can go down the rabbit hole, or I'll go down the rabbit hole later. Core 2 Duo. Y'all remember Core 2 Duos? Intel Core 2 Duo socket 775, I believe. I still have Core 2 Duo PC and CPUs laying around in baskets and little plastic sleeves and everything like that. Then there was the Core 2 Quad, the famous Q6600 Core 2 Quad. So Core 2 Duo, I've not heard Eric, the founder of Pebble, directly mention why he named it the Core 2 Duo, but you know that there's a little bit of a nod. And I think it's because, I am just speculating here, maybe in 2012, around when the first Pebble smartwatch came out. No, we had i7s. We had the i series of processors in 2012. Core 2 Duos, that's like more 2008, 2009-ish. Don't quote, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here. I'm not looking it up on my computer like I could. But yeah, Core 2 Duo. I love that he's calling it the Core 2 Duo. There are different color options, white and black and whatever. You can see it when you go to the website. Of course, it'll be linked all over the place on this podcast video and in the audio description if you're just listening to audio only. But I got to go into work now. It's actually past 10 a.m. I don't know what my team's doing. Is kind of a flex day today, so I'm just kind of hanging out. I'm going to go inside and edit some videos for the museum. But yeah, Pebble's back, baby, and I am so stoked for it. I could not have smashed a pre-order. I cucked so hard for it to pre-order. I only pre-ordered once. If my wife is listening, I only ordered one watch. The cheaper version, the $149 version. It's a no-brainer. It's a complete no-brainer. I also told my wife to end the podcast here. I was like, when the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, it's just going to be an automatic buy. And there's no reasoning behind it. Like I can't tell you a good reason. I can't defend myself in this matter. It's just Nintendo comes out with a new console and it's like an automatic switch in our brain. We have to get the new Nintendo console. We'll see if that's actually true. If the Switch 2 isn't if there's not much there, over the original Nintendo Switch, then we'll see. But part of me is like, yeah, when Nintendo has a new console, you automatically buy it. That said, I have never bought a Wii U. I don't own a Wii U. I went Wii to Switch. Was there something before? I think it was like Wii U, and then the Nintendo Switch. So I did not get the Wii U. I don't have a Wii U. I don't know what. Maybe I'll get one used or something like that. Used Nintendo handhelds like 3DSs and 2DSs are ridiculously expensive. Go cruise on eBay and around Amazon. It's so expensive for Nintendo handhelds, especially 3DSs right now. So anyways, I'm getting off track. Thank you so much for listening to Geek Therapy Radio. You are worthy of love. You're worthy of giving love. You're worthy of receiving love. And you're worthy of your own self-respect. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace out.